everybody's really competitive. People like to do games and stuff, but even with I found with the shy students, they might not want to speak up in class, but for the game they do. And so then you want to build on that. You're like, great, you're doing a great job. Now try to give me some of that in the next activity that we do. And it's baby steps.
Xin chào các bạn khán giả đang theo dõi series Expert Voice của Horizon Tucson. Đây là series mang tiếng nói của các chuyên gia đầu ngành trong lĩnh vực giảng dạy đến với các bạn giáo viên trẻ, đặc biệt là các bạn đang có mong muốn học Tucson để theo con đường giảng dạy tiếng Anh. Và mình là Xuân Nhi, mình sẽ đồng hành cùng với các bạn trong tập phát sóng ngày hôm nay. Và chuyên gia mà mình muốn mang đến với các bạn ngày hôm nay đó là thầy Eliseo Rodriguez. Và thầy chính là một trong những Tucson trainer tại Horizon Tucson. Thầy có hơn 15 năm trong lĩnh vực giảng dạy tiếng Anh tại các quốc gia như Hàn Quốc và Việt Nam. Và thầy Eliseo còn từng tốt nghiệp tại UCLA với bằng cử nhân lịch sử. Thầy còn có song bằng thạc sĩ tại Đại học Pepperdine và Đại học People. Và let's welcome Mr. Eliseo to Expert Voice of Horizon Tucson.
Hi everybody, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. To speak with you on some of my experiences teaching abroad and teaching in general. And as my colleague here just said, born and raised in California, went to UCLA for my undergrad, and I have a master's from Pepperdine in public policy, and I also have an MBA from the University of People. And it's a pleasure to meet you today.
Before we diving into our topic, I would like to know more about you. So can you tell us why did you choose to follow this career path? Why did you want to become an English teacher or a Tucson trainer, and especially come to Vietnam but not other countries?
That's a great question, and it might relate to a lot of teachers that are thinking about teaching. I kind of fell into teaching. I just graduated from UCLA, and I knew that I wanted a gap year. I wanted to go back to get my master's. So I knew that I was going to quit my job in a year or two. So I wanted to travel. I had never been to Asia before, and I really loved travel. And I had a friend from university. He was teaching in South Korea. And so I was thinking about maybe teaching in Japan, which was very popular at the time, or Taiwan or China. And Korea at the time was not really on anybody's radar. I didn't actually know anything about Korea. I never had Korean food at that time. I didn't speak Korean. I didn't know anything about Korea. But my friend really encouraged me to check it out. And so I took his advice and I went to Korea. I went to this small town called Gyeongju, which is about an hour north of Busan, and very small town, and nobody spoke English there. It's not like Seoul where English is widely used, and it was very small, and I didn't see many foreigners, and to be quite honest, it was really difficult for my first 6 months, but once I started making Korean friends and really getting into the culture and learning about it, I fell in love not only with teaching in Korea, but actually teaching itself. And so my first job there, I taught at a center, and I taught kindergarten up to high school kids. And I was 23 at the time, pretty much my first job. And I didn't really plan to teach long because I was going back to school. And so I went back to Los Angeles after a year and a half in Gyeongju, South Korea. And I completed my master's in 2 years in LA. And after, because of my experience before, I really wanted to, one of my goals was to teach at a university. And I really wanted to live in Seoul, Korea. And so right after my master's, I got a job as a university instructor at Dongdeok Yojade, Dongdeok Women's University, and moved to Seoul, Korea. And my initial plan was to just teach there for 2 years, but that turned into a very long career of living not only in Korea, but also in Vietnam. And I've been now teaching for 16 years in both Korea and Vietnam. And it kind of just happened by chance, and I fell in love with it. And so, life is full of surprises, and sometimes you fall into things and you actually enjoy them. And so maybe some people watching today might be in a similar situation. They're not so sure if they want to teach or not, but if you like people and you like helping people, maybe teaching might be for you.
Wow. I think as a foreign teacher for almost 2 decades, I guess that it's sometimes quite hard for you to understand your students come from different backgrounds than you. So how can you minimize the cultural gaps, or how you deal with the cultural differences between not only students and students, but also students and teachers? Share with us.
Number one, you really have to have an open mind. You have to be patient. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. You can't take things too seriously. And you just really got to be open to new cultures. For me, when I started having Korean friends, they really opened up my eyes to Korean food, culture, movies, celebrities, music, and as we all know, K-pop is really popular, and that was kind of my first entry into Korean culture, K-pop and the food. And so because of my interest, I was able to start able to relate with my students, because I would listen to the songs, I can sing a couple of verses, learning slang and maybe even bad words actually helped me relate with some of my students. And so that was a really great way to relate to them. And yes, I've been teaching a long time abroad, and you might even say I'm much older than some of my students, but I always make an effort to check out popular culture, songs that are popular. Even if I don't like them, at least I should know what they are. Movies, of course. And nowadays it's really easy because my students actually teach me about the culture. And so, for example, in Vietnam, I kind of started all over again, and I didn't know the language. I didn't really know much about Vietnamese food or culture or any of that, but my students were my teachers. And so I would see them or watching a video, Song Tung MTP or Su Boy or somebody I don't know, and I say, oh, who's that? All right, let's listen a little bit. And so, you learn about the culture through them. And, new things that come out in pop culture, my students teach me, and then I reference that in class, and they think like I know a lot, which actually I don't. I just know a little bit, but try to relate to them on their terms. And actually for me, it's really easy too, because K-pop is really popular here in Vietnam, and I know a lot about that. So we also relate on other things that maybe are not so pertinent to Vietnam, but just really be down to earth and try to relate on things that you know and have an open mind.
Again, within almost 2 decades of teaching, how can you keep your lesson interesting? And do you think that it's necessary for teachers to make an effort keeping the lesson interesting all the time?
Yeah, so nobody's perfect, nobody knows everything, and times change. 10 years ago, TikTok, Instagram was not really a big thing. And so, knowing about these things, I'm not actually really a big TikToker, but I do know what's going on there. I know the dances and all that and all the silly videos that they make. And it's not necessarily for me, but I'm aware and I can reference it in class and relate to that. But just on like teaching style and methods, of course, we should always, go to conferences, watch videos on YouTube to, really engage. And you have to really update your teaching style and your teaching methods, because things change. Before, I hardly really ever used online games because that wasn't a thing. Now, actually, I mostly use online games and I don't really use regular games in class. But both are actually good, but you have to adjust and grow as a teacher if you actually want to connect and excel in the classroom. So always, teachers don't know everything. You're also a student, and you should also learn from your colleagues, the information that's out there, and learn from your students too. If something's not working for them, you should try something else.
So looking at you, and then as you mentioned, I think that your teaching style is quite down to earth, pretty chill. So how can you maintain authority in the classroom? Because I think that some teachers think that they should be very strict, so that the students have to must listen to us in order to have an effective lesson, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah. When I first started teaching at 23, I first started with the approach of being really strict, and that backfired very quickly, especially with the young learners. They were scared of me. We were not having fun. I was not enjoying my job. So then I pivoted, and then I was too nice. I was trying to be their best friend. They were not listening to me. I had no authority, and having a good balance in that. And really just be yourself. If you don't enjoy your job, the students are not going to enjoy their learning. And so for me, what I do is on the first day of class, I always establish my 4 or 5 rules that I'm not flexible on. And sometimes there is cases to be flexible, but in general, you have to keep people accountable. And so I tell them the things I expect. And then after that, I'm actually really just relax and chill. As long as you come in as a student, you know the rules. And if you mess up, you accept it and you accept the consequences. So for example, I teach at Tong University and I have university students. And here in Vietnam, it's kind of a culture to always be late to everything, 10, 15, 20 minutes late. And, I like to joke around. If you're 10 minutes late, you're actually 20 minutes early. But in class, you can't be like that. And of course, those are habits you shouldn't really establish is for work later. You want to develop good habits. So on the first day of class, I always tell my students, bring your book, don't abuse your smartphones or I'll take them. And late, I tell them, I understand people are going to be late. 10 minutes, I don't care. That's fine. Things happen. But if you're more than that, there's some consequences. And, I tell them you have to sing a song in English. And I joke around that I like Cardi B, which I don't. But, they're like, oh, Cardi B. And I say, you got to sing us a song in front of the class. And they're like, no, I don't sing. And I'm like, yeah, you do. This is Vietnam. Everybody loves karaoke. I can't sleep every night because everybody's singing karaoke. So, you establish these rules and, they know the consequences. And so, they test you. The first day, 10 minutes, 20 minutes late. Oh, teacher, there was traffic. Oh, yeah, that's fine. But you still got to sing a song. No, teacher, I'm shy. Okay, you have a choice. Sing the song, you're not late, or don't sing the song and you're late. And they always choose to sing the song. And then they learn that actually it's not that bad. And the class has fun with it. We have a good time. And so students might initially think I'm really strict, but actually once we know the rules, we're actually very, once you have that mutual respect, it's easy for them to joke with me. I'll sing songs with my students sometimes. And, you want to establish respect, but openness for them to want to make mistakes and also speak their mind. And those are the things, that's how you establish rapport in the classroom. And it's a mix of authority with some flexibility, but have fun. And if you're not having fun, then why are you there?
So what did you do when they didn't listen to you, or how was you feeling when they just ignored your rules?
It's really seldom that I have students not listen to me. I'll just, they'll beg me, I don't want to sing, or they'll say, I don't want to do that. I say, that's fine. You know the rules. You get a 0. And then at the end of the semester, they have all these absences and lates, and then they beg me, oh, teacher, if I don't pass this class, I have to retake it, I have to pay. I was like, you're 19, 20 years old, you're an adult. You made these choices. And they beg and they beg. So you have to have ethics. And if you bend for everyone, nobody can keep you accountable. And that's actually the one thing, at least for me, I mostly work with university students. If you don't teach them discipline and responsibility and accountability, those are the most important things in life. It doesn't matter about what you learn in my English class or anything else, but if you don't have that, you're not going to go very far. And so I've had students beg. I've had them go talk to my boss and my boss comes to me and says, can you do something? I said, no. And I tell the student, I hope I see you in my class again, and I hope you do better. And I will forget your attitude from before because it's a new class, it's a new day. And so you really have to just stick to what's right. And so I really don't ever have problems with that, ever. I'm fair. And so, you know.
Cool. So for several years working as a teacher trainer at Horizon Tucson, I see that you use quite a lot of games in the classroom, especially even your classroom students are also young teachers, right?
Yeah.
So, what are the benefits of using games in the classroom with different learning style or different age groups?
So when I first started, I was 23-year-old, trying to be a professional teacher. I actually thought playing too many games was unprofessional, but actually that's false. Like you really got to engage the students. So it took time for me to do games with young students. And then when I transitioned into teaching university students, I thought they're adults. They don't want to play games, but that was also false. And I learned that everybody is competitive, everybody wants to have fun, but what really clicked was I was doing some research on how to change your lesson plans, and I really started researching the Pareto approach, which is you break up. The Pareto approach is actually used for people who work in an office, and they tell you should work for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and then take a break, and then go back and work an hour, hour and a half, and take a break. But the way that applies to teaching is you should do activities for 10 to 15 minutes and then take a break, because learning English it doesn't hurt your brain, but it's exhausting, especially for new learners. Like it's a lot of effort. And so the best way to break up a lesson is with a game. And I like to use a lot of online games because it's easy to bring up on your laptop. And there's so many games already created for vocabulary, grammar, speaking, whatever you want, whatever level, it is there. And so you're playing a game, but you're actually reviewing vocabulary or grammar, so they're actually learning, but they don't even know it. So games trick students to learn more, and they're taking a break, they're having fun, and so that really makes the learning process better. All right, maybe you don't want to be in my class, your parents are forcing you to study English, so just give me 10 minutes of effort, and then we're going to play a game for like 3 minutes, and then just give me another 10 minutes of effort, and then we're going to play another 3 minutes. And so what that does, especially for students that are struggling with learning, they don't see the class as 2 hours, it's just 10 minutes, and that's it. And that's all I ask for, 10 minutes, take a break, 10 minutes. And so after I started incorporating these with my adult students, I was astonished, like, wow, why didn't I do this always? Like, why try to study for 30, 40 minutes? And, that's not the way to do. That's not the way to be, And so that's kind of how I fell into using that approach in my classroom. And, that all goes again with thinking about what are you doing right in class? What are you doing wrong in class? How can you adjust? How can you, change that? And so going back to different learning styles, everybody's really competitive. People like to do games and stuff, but, even with, I found with the shy students, they might not want to speak up in class, but for the game, they do. And so then you want to build on that. You're like, great, you're doing a great job. Now try to give me some of that in the next activity that we do. And, it's baby steps.
Yeah, I strongly agree with you, especially the shy students. And, I'm quite amazed that our students are very, very competitive.
Yeah.
So what kinds of games do you usually use? And can you suggest some resources where young teachers can use to be more creative with their games?
So if you like to control the games and the act, like, every single aspect of what you're going to teach, you can make them on PPT. It's a lot of effort, but if you don't want to do that, there's Bamboozle, Kahoots, Quizlet. There's a bunch of online games you can find online. And depending on the classroom setup, me personally, I use Bamboozle because sometimes in class, not everybody has access to Wi-Fi, or the Wi-Fi doesn't work so well. So I can control, like I have Wi-Fi, I can control, the game through that. But I also use Bamboozle because I like to split students up into different teams. So they working with someone that they usually won't work with. With Kahoots, usually they kind of just work with their friends, and you need Wi-Fi. Everybody needs Wi-Fi, everybody needs a smartphone. So sometimes, that's not possible. And so just depending on your setup, if you don't have technology, if you don't have that stuff, you can keep it simple. You can, do different games with the ball or writing on the board. There's many different things you can do, racing to the board, fill in the missing, like you can do it the old-fashioned way, and that's great too. And actually that's better for younger learners, but you can also do it with adults. So it really depends on your classroom setup and the technology that's available.
Yeah. So one last question about game. How can teachers access learning or students' language skills through games?
Well, one, you're reviewing vocabulary and grammar. There's speaking games on there too. So when we have a day where we're focusing more on speaking, I teach IELTS courses. So a lot of the questions are related to, IELTS, talking about your hometown, or what are some cultural aspects of Vietnam compared to, America. There's all the games are there. So, they start getting in their groups, and each person in the team has to answer one of the questions. And so you can practice speaking like that. You can do listening through it. Writing, obviously, you can't really do through those kind of games, but you could pretty much do the 3 skills, grammar, listening, speaking, all of that through any kind of online game. So yeah, that's how I utilize those.
Thank you so much for your sharing today. I think they are very interesting and open new insights, deeply providing with new insights in this career path. And I think that let's wrap up with with some encouragement from you, a very experienced teacher, and also some advice for teachers like me who wants to go to different places, to different countries to teach English.
Number one, don't let fear hold you back. I know a lot of teachers, sometimes new teachers especially, they might be a little shy, but they do enjoy people. They do enjoy helping people. They enjoy English. You're gonna mess up your first year, 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year. It's a process. And even after a year, you're still gonna grow slowly. So don't be discouraged by one student's behavior in class, or one class's outcome, it maybe didn't come out so good, or parent complaints. It is a process. You need to be patient. So don't let the fear hold you back. Number 2, you really need to teach for the right reasons. And I know teaching English can be a very lucrative career in Vietnam, especially for a lot of Vietnamese teachers. So money is important, but you should be doing it for the right reasons. Like you actually like teaching, you like people, you have passion. And if that's your first motivation, great. And then if you can get paid for that, that's even better. But if you go into teaching just for the money, I don't know how long you will last. Like you really got to find something about teaching that you enjoy and hone into that. So whatever that is, you like people, you like helping people, you like English, whatever that is, you really need to focus on that. And everything else, all the financial and career incentives will come with your passion and enthusiasm. As for teaching abroad, there's a lot of TESOL forums out there, Dave's ESL website. So you could always, check those out. And again, don't let fear hold you back. A lot of people are like, actually a lot of my friends, like they thought, oh, teaching abroad could be cool, but I don't know, will I make friends, or will I like the food, or will I, there's so many ifs. like Nike says, just do it. And if it doesn't work out, you're not gonna die. You can just go back home, right? And then you can even try again. So just do it, give it your best chance, be patient. You're not gonna adjust in a month, two. It might take a whole year. For example, when I first went to Korea, I hated it for the first 6 months. It was super cold. I had literally no friends. I knew nobody. I was ready to go home. And then one day, I met this Korean guy who became my best friend, and then my life changed. And then I stayed in Korea for like 10 years. It went from 6 months and going home to I stayed for 10 years. So be open-minded, be patient, and be kind with yourself. And that's the first step to trying to find opportunities abroad.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you in our next episode.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, everyone. I hope to see you again in our next podcast and maybe see you in the classroom. Thank you.